You know, when I was in South Africa recently, I was speaking at the University of Cape Town. About 170 students, quite a number of them had stayed behind, even though they were not part of the Christian group that organised the lecture, because they had actually just had the introductory talk on evolutionary biology in the first year. And incidentally, sadly, the lecturer that was, strongly pushing evolution was a representative of a major evangelical Christian campus ministry. That really made me sad. But anyway, I talked about these embryos, and I could see their eyes getting wider and wider because actually they just had this evidence given to them as evidence for evolution. It is drawings by the German zoologist Ernst Haeckel from the 1800s. He was a fanatical Darwinist. He was Darwin's disciple on the continent. He had a tremendous amount to do with the rapid acceptance of evolution in Germany, which had a lot to do. You can trace it very clearly. It's been done by scholars through the philosopher Nietzsche and his philosophy of the Superman, the strongest race, and those sort of things. And that was, of course, taken on by Hitler, and the rest is pretty tragic history. But these were the drawings that he used to indoctrinate people into evolutionary thinking. He said they were taken from life. He looked at these things under the microscope, and this is what he saw. This is the embryos of these very different creatures, fish, salamander, turtle, chicken, rabbit, human, at the same stage of embryonic development. And here's the take-home message that our young people are supposed to get. The take-home message is, hey, we're nothing really special. Look at the similarities. Isn't it obvious that we all evolved from a common designer? And at that stage, there's nothing much different, between us and so on. Here's the first thing to realise, that even if that was the way it was, that wouldn't be a big deal, would it? Because you see, if I have a series of buildings, and I've got the blueprint for each one, and I know from the blueprint that this one is going to be before it's built, an outside toilet, this one is going to be a skyscraper, this one a palace, and this one a domestic dwelling. They're radically different buildings, and all of that is already in the blueprint, just like the DNA blueprint of these things, these creatures. But at the stage of pouring the foundations, they look pretty similar, don't they? And yet that similarity is because you've got a similar, intelligent engineering design principle used to build them. And the longer the development goes on, the less similar they become. That's easy to see that as a common designer explanation. But the tragic thing is that that is not how they look. Just a very few years ago, as we showed in Creation magazine, an evolutionary embryologist decided for the first time in well over a century that anybody decided to actually go and photograph these creatures and see what they looked like, these embryos. And that's the actual photos. Couldn't be more different, could they? It is not too strong to refer to this as outright fraud.